Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and Dan are going to take you through all the National Ice Hockey League news, fixtures, and there's quite a bit of news this week actually, Dan. But yeah, we'll crack into that in a minute. We've also got two special guests, two cup winners, Oli Endicott back for the third time, and Finn Bradon on the podcast for the first time, obviously, just signed a 2-year deal as well, which we'll talk in a bit. But we'll cut to those interviews after we've spoke a bit about the news. And then after that interview, those two interviews, it will cut to us talking about the rest of the week. But Dan, you all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all good. Thank you very much.
Bit of a late recording tonight.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, a bit late, but it's what we do for the pod.
Yeah, we won't go on too long because we do have the two interviews. But the first bit of news is actually to do with us, and we'll briefly mention it because we have booked a trip to New York again. Charlie isn't going to New York because he's got a trip to Africa, which I think we've mentioned on the pod a few times. But you had a few days off, which you could take down, and we thought, you know what, let's just go New York. It's good
Yeah, I
last
mean,
time.
yeah, we were talking about a hockey trip for a while. We had
Fell
sort of
through.
we had one lined up, and then it didn't happen. And then we sort of I got the opportunity of obviously having the holiday to use, so I just thought I'll send a message to Jack, let him have a look at some trips, and this is what he came back with. So
Yeah, so we've somehow managed to plan it so we don't miss a Wildcats game. It's just nuts. Yeah, so Wildcats play Friday and Saturday, the 14th and 15th of March against Bristol. So away in Bristol Friday, home against Bristol on Saturday, and then on the Sunday, I checked and we can fly out we're flying out Sunday morning English time. We fingers crossed will get to America, New York at about half 12, 1 o'clock. And then that night is New York Rangers versus Oilers, the Edmonton Oilers, who I support. So you can see why I tried to plan it with that one. But I'm going to be so nervous. I've said to you so many times, Dan, that trip, if it's delayed by a few hours, I'm gonna be nervous 'cause I don't want to miss that game.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I'm keeping positive.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very, very unlucky if it did happen. I
Yeah,
think.
the flight would have to be dramatically either delayed or just cancelled in general, for us to miss that. But we also have three other games which we're hopefully be watching. So on the Monday, we're thinking of traveling to Boston, and watching Boston versus Buffalo.
Buffalo.
And then on Tuesday, it is Washington at home against Detroit. That'll be a banger. And right now, as we're recording, Ovi is 13 goals away from the goal record. And there's 11 more games to go until the one we'd watch. Dan, you're confident. Unfortunately, I'm not confident. He would have to go on
Ah,
an absolute heater.
nah, I'm always confident. I think we're gonna see it. I've just got a feeling. I was nearly close to seeing Matthews score the 70th last season, so I'm gonna see Ovi this season.
Yeah, watch him go on like a 3-game goal drought, and he still needs like six, seven, 8 goals by the time we watch him. But still, Washington versus Detroit. Then we have a day off where we might explore Washington, and then the final game, which we'll probably definitely see, is Toronto New York Rangers, because
Which is
that's the
my
final
team.
game of the trip. That's Dan's trip, so he won't even have to worry about it because that's the last one of the trip. But yeah, hopefully 4 games out there. We're going with my close mate Mitch as well, so it'll be the three of us. And his first game will be McDavid.
Yeah, I mean,
What a first NHL
yeah,
game.
not too bad, is it?
Yeah. So yeah, we'll work out what we do with podcast wise. We might have to skip that week and then just do a double whammy week of fixtures because that is the weekend where MK play Leeds as well.
hmm
So that's going to be nuts. I know you're going to that one on the Saturday, instead of the Swindon Bristol game. But yeah, that's a little update of our little trip. Back to the national, and it's not been a great week for Hull, has it, Dan? It started with the DOPS ban, with Lee Bonner, and he received 4 games Mason Alderson also received 5 games, and that was tallied up with a lot of penalty points. So he'll miss 5 games. Lee Bonner will miss 4 games, and we've all seen the hit. It got put on Twitter. Now, I know a lot of people and fans were saying that's a good hit. A lot of Hull fans. I'll ask for your opinion in a sec, Dan. But for me, after watching the clip a lot of times, and I've had people message me and say, Jack, you're wrong on this. Um, I think it was a bit late. The Phillips had passed the puck. The puck had been moved on. I think the other guy actually received the pass and even moved it on before contact was even made. It's not a check to the head, which is what it was given, I think. I actually think it's more interference and then it's made contact with his head. Now, I know you can't really get 2 penalties within one, Dan, but from watching the one angle, and this is why it's so hard because there is only one angle and it's a bit fuzzy when you zoom in a lot, but he starts contact in the chest area and then he works up, and Phillips has got injured from it. And I assume that's from the hit. And if he has, it means that Bonner has gone high. And it did look like he went upwards motion. So for me, I think he does deserve a ban. Maybe four's a bit too harsh, especially with some of the ones which they've let go earlier on the season and less games than that. But for me, it is a ban. I think it is a ban. Yes, you want to see those heavy hits, and maybe in another league that might be a clean hit. But for the National League, it's a semi-professional league at the end of the day, and for me it was a little bit late. And Phillips has gone and got injured from it. So for me, it's a ban. Dan, what did you think of it?
Personally, I thought it was a ban, but I didn't think it was a full game ban. Um, I would have personally given it a 2 game ban.
Yeah.
I think Bonner. I think he was having momentum anyway. Like he was going in for the hit, whatever happened.
No matter what,
But
yeah.
so I think the momentum just sort of he couldn't stop himself from hitting him. So he went in for the hit. He's a small guy anyway, so he is gonna put like his elbows up. He does do that a lot. You've seen him do it throughout the years. Um, but I think the way Phillips got injured, I'm assuming, like you say, from that hit. I think that obviously gave Dops a bit more of a reason to give him a ban. I
Yeah.
think if he carries on playing that game, I think he went off in that game.
Yeah,
I
Phillips
think,
went off and then hasn't played the last
yeah.
3 games.
So
Yeah.
if he carried on playing in that game, I think they would take a few games off. But the fact that it's obviously given Phillips a significant injury, I think that's sort of given Dops a bit more of a reason.
Yeah, because whether people agree with that or not, Phillips has come off injured from it, so he clearly did get hit up high. Whether Bonner meant it or not, yeah, it's up for debate. I know there's a few people who have agreed with me, a few people who completely disagree with me. Matty said on his interview he thinks it was a clean hit, and fair enough. Back in the EPHL, maybe that is a clean hit, but the
Everyone's
national has
going to
changed.
disagree and agree.
What's that?
Everyone's going to agree and disagree. No one's going to come to a
Yeah,
clear,
that's life,
a
isn't it?
clear decision.
But then the other bit of news was Matty and the Seahawks have been given a 5-0 loss on their game against Peterborough for Matty being on the bench when they hit 50 penalty points. Now, I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but apparently the team hit the penalty points on the Saturday and then he was on the bench on the Sunday and he shouldn't have been because they hit the penalty points, so you meant to have a ban. But because he was on the bench, he was eligible, Dan, and that means that the game becomes void and Peterborough get the 5-0 win. Now, maybe it's a bit of miscommunication. I don't really know. I'm not going to throw stuff out there which I don't know. But either way, I think this is a wake up call to other teams now. You've got to be on top of your penalty minutes. You've got to be checking how many penalty points you've got because in future, you don't want bans come playoffs, do you? So you've got to be on top of your penalty points. And I actually think this will be kind of a little warning to other teams as well. Just you've got to be on top of it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's not like I don't know how you say it. It's not like a harsh penalty. It's just simple admin. Like teams just have to be
Yeah.
on top of it, like you say. Like it's nothing to do with the game. You just have to be on top of your team and obviously just keeping tally of what's going on. And it's not difficult to do. Um, Obviously, I'm not a coach, so I don't know if, if they've got other jobs to do. But it's just just a simple thing, just to keep tally and just watch out really.
And teams will make mistakes. I remember, I will never forget it because it was so annoying. But Swindon got hit with this. We beat Peterborough comfortably in that first leg, I think by 3 or 4 goals in the playoffs. And unfortunately, even though we tried to do a good thing of giving a youth player some playoff experience, what it was like in the playoffs, he hadn't played enough games, and we got the 5-0 loss as something kind of a nice deed has turned against us. And I don't think a team's done that since. They've not accidentally done that since. So I think the same will happen with this now in terms of penalty points. I don't think teams will mess up in future. So a tough weekend for Hull, but actually they're flipping rolling right now. 3 back-to-back-to-back 4-point weekends for them, which we'll go into in a bit. So that was the whole news. And then on to a bit of positives. We got a bit of signing news. Actually, before we get into signings, congratulations to England under 13s, I think. They won in the Pee Wee um, Quebec tournament. So fair play to them. I didn't actually know anything about it before they went out, but it looked really cool. Some young lads getting to play in Canada. They were absolutely buzzing around as well. It was quite a good little follow. I'm sure a lot of the families got a free trip away to Canada. Maybe it wasn't free, but yeah, I know a young Swindon lad as well, Jasper, was on the team in goal. So that's pretty cool. Good coverage for England, Dan.
Yeah, and it was quite a big arena as well, to be
Yeah, it's
fair. I mean,
massive.
one experience for like those young kids representing their country as well and going out there. I saw pictures and there were a few fans from obviously
Yeah.
other countries as well. So I think when the games are on, there was actually quite a lot of fans in the building. Um, so yeah, it's a good good experience for them and sort of showing that British ice hockey is growing and
Yeah.
they're sort of showing that these young kids coming up they do have a bit of a future in the UK hockey system.
Yeah, little nugget as well. Apparently, Aaron Nell was in the team when they last won it. And yeah, that was ages ago. So, fair play to the England lads. And then on to the signings. The first bit of news was Nathan Salem re-signing with the Phantoms, Dan, and I think it's safe to say he's settled at Phantoms, hasn't he? And he's really hit some good patch of form. Obviously, I think he's played for Peterborough before, but he was at Hull last season. I actually think he fits more into this Peterborough Slava system. He's getting more of an opportunity being that sniper in the top six, isn't he? So yeah, I don't blame him for re-signing with the Peterborough Phantoms.
Yeah, and this season it feels like he's really put his head down as well. Like with Hull, you saw him; he was getting a bit involved in the nitty gritty bits and the sort of little,
Grinding.
like little silly bits and stuff like that. But in Peterborough, because he has played for Peterborough before and he's played under Slava and he knows the systems. It's like you say, he's more comfortable in that team. But this season he's really put his head down, and you don't really notice him getting into any of those little altercations anymore. Like he is just fully focused on his game, and just he's been given a role, and he's playing that role perfectly. So I think it was a no-brainer for him to re-sign there because I think Slava does get the best out of Salem, and
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
sure
yeah.
Salem will be loving that.
He's got 45 points in 43 games. He is over a point a game. And he was much less than a point per game last season with Hull. So he's having an absolute cracker of a season. He's the top point scorer, which isn't on that Huff, Lackinen, and Ferrara line. So he's right at the top of that secondary scoring for the Phantoms. And then the second re-signing was Rennie Marr at the weekend. Another 2 year with the Wildcats, and he's gonna have his testimonial. And that's just crazy, man. It's nuts to think Rennie has been here 8 years. 2 more will take him to 10. I still see him as like one of the younger guys of the team, but he's not actually. He's probably like mid pack of the team. So he's just been around for ages, Dan. And just like Chris Jones, he's gonna get rewarded with that 10 year testimonial game.
Yeah, it feels like he hasn't been here long. Like because I remember in Basingstoke, I remember when he first joined Swindon, he had his DFE pads on. He had them DFE white
He was
pads.
only 19, I think.
Yeah, it's mental when you look at it. I didn't actually realise how like young he was when he first played for Swindon. Um, but I mean, yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds, and he's really sort of he's grown his game in Swindon. and I think that's one big reason why he's decided to go to that testimonial year. Because why wouldn't you stay at a team where you've literally grown your career and you've sort of made yourself the player that you are now? And I think it just shows. Obviously, you'll get rewarded for that testimonial game, but you're also saying thank you to the club that obviously raised you and brought you up. So, and yeah, I mean, it's probably an easy decision for Rennie, like he said in the interview.
Yeah, he's probably had his best season this season. He's
Mm,
playing really good hockey. Obviously, he's got a much better defense in front of him, but you still have to perform. You still have to be that guy in goal. And he's been really good this season, just behind Sam Gospel. So I'm happy he's back for another 2 years, and it's good to see another Brit just carry on as
yeah,
well. I think that's another positive. And then the final bit of news, which we're obviously going to the interviews, is Finn Bradon's back for 2 years, and how good's that, Dan? I know he's one of your favourite players, but he's back for 2 years with the Leeds Knights, and it's nice to just see a player of his talent just staying at the Knights, staying in our league, not rushing into the elite league. You're always going to get your opportunities, but he's back for another 2 years.
yeah, that's massive for Leeds. I mean, keeping a guy like that for another 2 years at that age as well. No doubt there would have been other teams looking at him. Like, no, there's 100% there would have been other teams.
Any team would take him.
But to keep a guy like that is, yeah, very big. You always talk about these young players and young players coming up and how important they are to a team, sort of growing the youth. He's a perfect example. Leeds, they've got these really good veteran players, but these really good veteran players are only going to make players like Bradon better. So if you're keeping Bradon around a dressing room like Leeds have got, there's only going to be good things for a guy like Bradon.
Yeah, he's really mature for his age as well, on and off the ice. I think the way he
He's
plays
so
hockey
clever.
is it's the right way. He's both ends of the ice. He doesn't cheat the system of waiting around for the puck to come to him. He'll work his ass to get back if he loses the puck. So I like that about him. But yeah, we'll cut into the interviews. We talked to Ollie obviously a bit more about the final. So we go into details about the weekend and then winning the cup. And then Bradon, obviously, we haven't interviewed him before, so he talks a bit more about his career and then his journey through hockey so far. So, yeah, we hope you enjoy the interviews, and we'll cut to those two now. And welcome back. We've got a special guest on for the third time, Ollie. Welcome back to the podcast again. And congratulations for winning the 24-25 National Cup, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good.
I don't want to bring it up for Leeds fans' sake, but you actually have won the cup in Leeds before. I remember you won it with Neil for the Wildcats, and then you obviously went back to Leeds. But how does it feel, obviously, to win it for Leeds after losing the last couple years, and especially in that final against Peterborough as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, I have won it before technically when I went with Swindon, but I was just a bit of a younger kid then. So, it was cool to go, and I'm glad Aaron took me, and it was a big experience for me and everything. But I didn't really play too much, but
Yeah.
it was still fun. But I mean, to win it with Leeds, like actually playing and being a part of the team was massive. Yeah, after the struggles we've had with it in the
Yeah.
previous years. Yeah.
Go on, Chaz.
And what was it like for the team? Because I guess that was the final gem for some of them players in that dressing room who have obviously won the league, won the playoffs, and now Leeds have kind of completed the three of them over the last 3 seasons. What was it like to finally kind of get that one off the back?
Yeah, I mean, we've all wanted that one for a while. Like we've said that because obviously we've won the league and won the playoffs. Obviously, every year we want to win as much as we can. So when we had an opportunity like that, where we actually got through to the final and we knew we were going to play Romford, we know they're a good team. So we just had to play well and we had a struggle on Saturday. But, even like all the older guys that won it, Matty, Biz, and even the imports, said what they had to say before, got us going. And yeah, we just came out flying.
Before we even get to the final, then, I'm not sure if we mentioned it in the last interview, but that semi-final against Sheffield, we were saying off camera, it feels like you've playing them every other week, but that's double semi-final, going into it, going two down in the second leg, and then Finn obviously gets a big goal. We'll talk about him in a minute because there was some news of him with Leeds. But
Yeah.
you then got that go-ahead goal, and I think I was saying to your sister, I've never seen you snipe a putt like that before.
No, yeah, I don't know where it's come from, to be honest. It doesn't happen very often. So when it does, I'm pretty fired up about it, to be honest. Yeah, the semi-final was pretty big. Like, I think the first leg, like you said, was 2-2 or something,
Yeah,
and they scored with like 4 seconds left in Leeds.
yeah,
So we knew like we had to go to Sheffield and show up because they are a good team, and that was back when they had like Tremblay and everyone, and they had
yeah.
like solid team.
All Rick as well.
Yeah, they had. We came out flying, they came out flying. It was a good game of hockey to start with, and then for some reason, for me, Finn won the face off to me. He told me to shoot before, so I was like, all right, shot, and I was like, yo, that was kind of tucked for some reason, not on the ice like normal.
How was
Yeah,
the Leeds fans that day? Because I know Sheffield sold out, and it was actually
yeah,
really nice to see that building sold out. I think if it can sell out every week, that would be a really good place to play. But how was that seeing half the fans just
yeah.
Leeds coming down?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy because normally, like, we've just played there, obviously, Tuesday, and
Yeah,
there was like no one there, so it was pretty weird. But like when I think back to that, it was actually it
oh,
was a sellout,
it
and
was
you looked
packed.
to the right, and it was just like there could have been like 400 or 500 Leeds fans going absolutely nuts. Like it was good. Like they were loud, probably louder than Sheffield, but our fans are great. I think they're the best in the league. They are pretty nuts, pretty kooky, but they love us. They want us to win, so it kind of helps us to be
Mhm.
better on the ice.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
um and what was the feeling going into the final before the game? Obviously, it was a Romford team who have lost you guys in a cup final before. Kind of, it was a new era for Romford, so it was a tough place to go to in that first leg. And what was like the feeling going into a sellout Romford game? Like
Yeah,
that's got
I
to be one of the most intimidating rinks in the league.
yeah, honestly, like I was pretty like not that nervous before. I was like just thinking of it as like another game. But the minute we got there and got off like warm up and coming back out, I was like, I've never seen this place like this. Like Romford, mate,
Yeah,
sold
nuts.
out around the glass, all down the low and that like away area, just rammed. They've got them. They don't even have like drums. Like they've got them stupid horns that are going nuts. Can't even hear yourself think, and it's just like you said, it is a bit intimidating there. Like the fans are going mental. They're good fans at home there for Raiders as well. They got behind them, and I think they used that, and they came out flying. And so did we. To be fair, we had a good start. I think we went 1 or 2 up, and then
Yeah,
something must have changed for them, and we might have, changed a little bit. Like they just started coming harder. Obviously, they're top guys, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, like Miller, Schufelt,
Oh,
Ailiff,
yeah.
Sylvester, Anderson. They all turned up, and it was like, all right, 2-1, 2-2, and it was like, okay, what's going on? Like, let's relax here. And then, yeah, we got out of there at 5-4 down. We probably should have got out there with a win, to be honest.
Mm.
But I think I don't know, we just weren't good enough in the third, and they obviously knew like if they wanted to beat us at home, they
yeah.
had to win that game.
What was the kind of vibes going into that first leg? Because it is 120 minutes of hockey.
Yeah,
Were you going into that? Was the team going into that saying we got to win this game, or was it
yeah.
just take
I think
something back to Leeds?
yeah, I think us going into a game thinking like, oh, like well, let's go for a draw on like or better. Like we're not good like that. We just
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to go in and be like, we have to win.
yeah,
If we play like not like desperate, like but like we're gonna win, like we're good. And that's how we started. And then I think we kind of like, all right, Romford aren't MK or something like that. We got 2-0 up, and I think people got a little bit like,
yeah,
a bit laid back kind of thing, maybe, including myself. And, we were like, oh, all right, now we need to get back on it. And it was a bit too late because they were flying. The crowd's
yeah.
behind them. They got power plays. Like
They're a
everything was
momentum
going their
team.
way. Yeah, they are. They play desperate, but they do play on momentum as well. You're right. But I do think us losing that game by one was a massive wake up call for Sunday because
Yeah,
I never had a doubt we were going to lose that game. I went to bed. I was like on Saturday. I was like, yeah, we're fine. If there's a team that we're 1-0 down against, and this is the team we've got to play tomorrow, they've got to come to our rink, which is a sellout. We've got crazy fans. It was nuts. All the boys knew it. We were going to win that game. So
yeah.
it was a good atmosphere in the room before, and we just took it onto the ice. And like you said, like our first 10 minutes, I think we were like 4-0 up. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like everyone was just flying. That's the best we played all year, I think.
Which
Mhm.
it's interesting you say it because I listened to Kieran's interview after the game, and he said,
Yeah,
all the boys, yes, you lost the game, but you were like, okay, right, that's kind of given you that little bit extra motivation to go
yeah,
into Sunday and have a fast start because you had to start that game fast. I think
yeah,
Ryan Aldridge said as well that you had to start that game and play your way in front of all the fans. And
yeah,
maybe if you took a lead from Romford into that
yeah,
second
100%.
leg, you wouldn't have started as fast as you did.
100%. If we came back to that game 2 or 3 nil up, I think it could have been dangerous because I think Romford do play, like I said, like a desperate team.
Yeah,
And if they came to us and we're like, oh, 3-0, we just got, don't concede. It's like, all right, now we're 1-0 down.
yeah,
Okay. And now it's 3-2 on like aggregate kind of thing. It's like,
yeah.
I think we'd panic, but the fact we went 1-0 down, I think shows like true character and like our team as a whole. Like we can beat anyone in this league when we put our mind to it and play how we can play.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
And what was it? What were the experienced guys in the dressing room like just before you kind of were going out? The Bissonets, the Barons, the
Yeah.
Gospels. What were they like before you kind of went out in that first period? And obviously it clearly worked, but what were they
Yeah.
like in the room?
Honestly, all old guys like Hayward, all them lot, they were all dialed like they always are, saying what they got to say. But I think the main big difference was like everyone was on board. Like
Yeah.
me, Finn, Bales, Batty Baron, everyone was like, we're not losing this game. Like everyone give it 100%. Do your job. We will win this game. So I think they were like Matty and Beers and all them lot were saying about, bring everything you got, leave everything out there. But I think the ultimate thing was everyone knew if they just did their job, we're not going to lose this game. Like we can definitely beat this team.
Yeah.
Mm.
Word on the atmosphere then, because you said off camera, and I've heard from Leeds fans and people within the club that it was the loudest it's ever been at the castle,
Yeah,
sold out. How cool was it to see all of those yellow flags as well? The
yeah.
club really bought into this game and probably helped you be the sixth man behind the team.
Yeah, 100%. Every single fan was massive on Sunday. I think they knew it was a big game. Everyone knew that we hadn't won that before, so I think they all got behind us. I think that's the loudest ring I've ever played in. Like after Chris's fight with
Bradley
after about
Taylor.
three, yeah, about 3-0 down, they sent that guy out to get some momentum because that's how they play. And fair play to that guy, coming out and doing his job.
Yeah.
And I think Fugsy got the better of him in the end. But I have never heard a louder ring in my life because it's so like dense. The noise that was coming from that after, I was like, I can't even hear myself think. Like lining up for the next face off, it was mental.
And then I
Mhm.
think Wacer scored after that, I believe, to make it 4-1 as well. So the
Yeah,
momentum was just nuts.
yeah. It was going all our way. I think they had the right idea to try
Yeah.
and because fair play to the Raiders fans, they only have that little block, but
Oh
they were
yeah.
still loud and proud for their team, which was it was good for them. But I think in a sold out Leeds barn, that's quite hard to overpower. And I think our guys were just all behind us the entire way to the final
Mhm.
whistle. And we just continue to dominate.
I
Yeah,
think. Go on, Charlie. Go on.
I kind of think what summed up Leeds was what makes you so good was the second and third
Oh,
period.
that's what I was going to mention.
It
Yeah.
literally, you guys, if you look at the league table right now, me and Jack were looking at it earlier, you have the least conceded goals by quite a distance. And what kind of switched in the second and third for you guys to just completely almost kill the game?
I mean, honestly, I think the first period was the best period we've ever played, like all year. But obviously, I don't think we can go on to play like that for 3 periods. Like that's after like playing away in Romford, getting back late. Like boys are tired. I think we dug deep and found a different gear in the first period. And then after the second and third, we're all trying to give it all our best. But I think we just played smarter and like we knew we had the lead, but not to play with the lead. We just kept the nil-nil mentality.
Yeah.
Don't turn pucks over. Just get them deep, work hard, get off, get back on, do the same thing, and just kind of kill the game off. And I think a couple of the Romford guys after were saying like we deserved it and stuff like that. And I think like I appreciate them. And I think I spoke to that Miller at the end, and I just said like hell of a player, like good weekend.
Yeah.
And he was just like, but he had nothing. He like on Saturday he was creating offense after offense. I was like, yo, he could score more than keep scoring here, but. We know their top guys are, so we just shut them down, and I don't think we gave them anything.
What
Mhm.
I think that's what's impressed me most this season about Leeds. You might have lost a few more games this season, but I think that's just natural with the level of the league
The
going
league,
up.
yeah,
But you've still got the least amount of goals conceded by quite a considerable chunk as well. I've been really impressed with how you can go from that attacking the lead style, the quick. You've got a lot of young players, but also some older players, but also then defensively shutting it down. I think as the season's gone on, you've just got better and better at it. And talking Milton Keynes, you got that 3 goal lead. You knew you were winning that game. Then you knew you were going to kill it off, and same with the final second leg as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you say, I agree. I think like the team, we're getting a bit more mature, a bit more smart. Like all our younger guys are all getting a year older,
Yeah.
like myself, Finn. We're kind of understanding the league a bit more. Like if we get that lead, we don't need to try anything fancy or score another goal. Like MKOA, like we had that spell where we went up like three in about 10 minutes, 10,
Yeah.
12 minutes. And like, again, we just dominated. And it's like, okay, like now we don't, not almost like relax, but it's like, just play smart. Like, don't do anything stupid. Don't be turning the puck over when Venus and County are on the ice. Just if they're on the ice, just play smart, get it in
Dump
deep,
pucks
get
in,
a
chase
change. Yeah,
pucks.
exactly. Exactly. And I think that's what we're slowly starting to realize. Like when we get these leads, we don't need to change, but we just need to play smarter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, the rest of the season then, obviously you've won this cup. This is the first time you've won the first trophy of the actual season.
Yeah.
Um, I remember Kieran said in the interview, this must give you even more momentum and a
Yeah.
kick up the arse now, right? Actually, we've got a league title and a playoff now we can win to
Yeah.
just
100%.
complete it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with what Kieran said. I think, everyone is starting to realize it's like a three-way kind of train for the league now after MK and Swindon split in the weekend. I still think Swindon are in the running. I think they just need a
Yeah.
bit of luck to help them now. But I think if I'm focusing more on Leeds, I think we just got to take each game as it comes. We can't really think about too much. Like I know everyone's like, "Oh, MK, when you play them, it's decides the league," but I don't think like that because like
There's so
if we
many
play that, we
games
still
before
got to
then.
play like the bees. We still got to go to Solway. These are like tough places to
Yeah.
play, and these are hungry teams that are battling for playoff spots. So like they're not just going to roll over and let us win. You know what I mean? They're going to come out and try and get points off the top teams. So I'm not ruling out Swindon, MK, or us for the league
Oh
yet, but
yeah.
I do believe if we play how we play and win our games, then yeah, it's all to play for.
Um,
Mhm.
the third line then. I I actually love it because in maybe some teams, if you're a third liner, you want to be on the top lines. And don't get me wrong, that you might want to play upper line or play with some,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
with Leeds, it's just different. I think
yeah,
Finn put on his Instagram story like the best third line in the league. The fact you're embracing being a third liner, but actually that's why you've had so much success because you guys are still chipping in with goals. Finn got 2 the other day. Like
yeah.
that's
It's all.
talk about the
I
third line.
just, I don't honestly, I can't speak highly enough about them too. Like, I love playing with Innes. I love playing with Finn. Like, I don't know what it is, but like we just get each other. We come off. We can talk about like, oh, if you didn't see me there, it's not like oh, like oh, you didn't pass me. It's just like, oh, you probably didn't see me or whatever. We get on so well
Yeah.
on the ice, off the ice, and it just shows on the ice because we have each other's backs. We work hard, and like Rye always says to us, our goals just all come from like hard work. Like we're not
Yeah.
like obviously we're all skilled players, but like especially for myself, I know my role on the team. I know if I'm going to get greasy goals and like good points, it's all just from like working hard down low, getting the like Finn's got a good shot, finding Finn, finding Innes. We bounce off each other so well, and I think off the ice helps being around each other in the apartments and doing things together. And yeah, honestly, I love playing with them too. They're great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing which made me laugh is I thought, Tuesday night, 2 nights after they've just won a cup, it's
Yeah,
gonna be a bit of a hangover game. They're gonna be a bit full of themselves, maybe. Like normal
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Normally the
yeah,
game after you win a trophy is a hard game.
yeah.
Yeah, you won the game. Was it 6-1 or six
6
six
0.
nil?
6-0,
Yeah.
I think.
It's
Yeah,
I think it shows where Leeds want that they're not just content with the one cup. They want
yeah,
they clearly
yeah,
want more and yeah, every line looked lethal, and that was without Matt Haywood in your lineup.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
and
Like I was a
obviously
bit.
you can't not mention Gozzi in goal.
Yeah, of course. Gozzi stands on his head like week in, week out, so we can't complain about him. And even the goals he lets in my opinion, they're all from like team mistakes. Like if you let him see the puck, he's going to save it. Like
Mhm.
he's the best goalie in the league, in my opinion, for a reason.
Yeah.
You just
Agreed.
got to let him see the puck, and I think that's where also like why we've got less goals in that this year is Gozzi's been more vocal about how he wants us to play in the D zone
Yeah.
with Ryan, and like we just help everyone just helps each other out, let him see, clear the net, kind of thing like that. And we just didn't give Sheffield a sniff, in my opinion. Like we just,
Yeah.
I think they thought the same because, like, obviously after the cup, like we did have a little bit of a few drinks and hang out and party because we like it's another bit of
The
silverware we'd
trophy,
never
yeah.
won. But we all knew we had a game Tuesday, and everyone again just came to work and gave it everything. And then it was quick 3-0 up in the first period. And it was like, all right, again, play smart. We've got a lot of games coming up. We don't need any more goals. If they come, they come. But just play defensive and
Yeah.
play how we can play. And then we just rolled over and we won.
Good timing. Obviously, Finn last night got announced 2 years at the club. How big is that for Leeds? Because
Yeah, that's
he
good.
he just gets better and better every time I watch him.
Yeah, that's massive for Leeds. I mean, I can imagine a lot of teams are going to want him. He's
Oh,
he's nuts. He can play on any line, any forward position. He can play on the PP. Like he works hard. He's starting to be a bit more physical now, using his
yeah.
size. Like he's becoming a very complete player, and I think that's massive for Leeds. I think Ryan knows that he needs him to be in that team. He's putting up some big numbers this year, and he's becoming a massive part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, you got any more?
Um, what was with the celebration? That was the one thing. What went through your head? Why did you choose the Harry Potter
I have
celebration?
no idea. I did something stupid that first time we won the cup.
You
Like,
belly slid, didn't you?
yeah, I just like did a belly side because we won the league, and it was like first ever time I'd been a part of like where I like I said, like I played a lot and like felt like I was actually a part of the team and like a big, it was a big trophy to win. And then we won the playoffs. So I was like, oh, crap, I'm gonna have to do something stupid again. So I think I hit like the griddy or something. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. It's just like what these lot tell me to do. I don't even think about it. Like, oh, what are you gonna do now? What are you gonna do? You go last. I'm like, oh, can't just go around and be normal now. So I have to do stupid things. So I was like, oh, I'll just do the little Harry Potter ride the stick or something for a bit of banter.
That was
It was
good.
a
I
good
liked it.
photo.
I thought it was a class celebration.
Yeah, it's funny.
We're expecting if there's another Leeds trophy this year,
Oh,
we're
hopefully,
expecting a good one.
hopefully we can win some more and we'll get some more sellies out
Hopefully not for Swindon's case.
there.
Um, we're interviewing Finn, I think, next week. So, is there any
Yeah,
questions we should go and ask Finn?
thin. Oh, Christ, what should I ask
Anything
him?
you want to
I
find
mean,
out?
I'd ask him who his favorite left winger is he's ever played with, and if he doesn't say me, I'd be rattled. But
All right,
no,
we'll ask him that.
I don't know if I've got any other questions for him.
No, that's fine.
Um,
We'll ask him that one.
yeah,
We'll just
okay.
Charlie, go on. Here you go. You can end with
What's
this
your
one.
message to, in your words, the loudest fans in the league?
Just keep coming every week. We really appreciate it, and let's go win some more trophies.
Nice one, Ollie. Congratulations, mate. Well done on getting that cut with the Knights, and good luck for the rest of the season, mate.
No, thank you very much, guys. See you soon.
See ya. Hello and welcome back. We've got a little double whammy interview on this episode. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, we'd like to welcome to the podcast the line mate of the guest we've just had on. He is the current National Cup winner and he was GB under-20s captain. Welcome onto the podcast, Finley Bradon. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Good.
congratulations. Obviously getting over the hump and you guys getting that final. That must have been some game to play in Leeds back last Sunday.
Yeah, it was nice to finally get it done. We've been chasing that one for a while. It was so loud in the castle that night. It was incredible. That opening draw, I tried telling Ollie something. I couldn't. He didn't hear what I was saying at all. Yeah.
What's that been like actually? Because obviously Ryan's been throwing you guys out to open every single draw of the periods. When did he start bringing that in? Because I remember he did it against Swindon, and you and Ollie literally combined to score within like 10 seconds of that period. So when did he start throwing you guys out there?
Honestly, I can't remember. I'd think it would maybe be a game where we were going like pretty well. We were
Yeah.
playing well, and he would like put us out to start the period with energy and stuff. That's what the aim is for that. So, but no, we love starting the period. We like getting the boys going and starting it. Yeah.
Sets the tone for the game. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, it's always good when you see the three youngsters out and they're just forechecking the hell out of the other team to
Yeah.
start the game off. And it's always an advantage for your team because technically you're a third line. It means that you're battling against often the other team's top line. So it's quite exciting. It's quite a
Yeah,
challenge for you guys to start the games.
yeah. No, we love the challenge. We love starting. We don't like, go out saying, oh, we've got to play against this line or whatever. We'll just go and do our job, and we've done it pretty well so far. So
We'll
Yeah.
go back to the start then. Where does it start then? How do you get into ice hockey? Who was kind of the guy or woman who got you into it?
um, well, a lot of people have, like family members or stuff who played. I didn't have anything like that. My mum and dad sort of followed it when
Mm.
they were younger. Um, just went and they were watching the Newcastle Vipers when they were a
Oh yeah,
team.
yeah.
Um, so it just took me when I was young and obviously loved it. And then started at Billingham, went to one of the like learn to play sessions and
Mm.
went from there. Really, just loved it ever since.
Mhm.
What was kind of the youth like for you then? Because you said you grew up in Billiam, you played all the way through their youth system, and then you finally got to play for their main team as well. But what was that kind of process? Is there some players we might know now you kind of grew up playing with?
Tommy Spraggan's one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Played with him every single team I've been in. I've played with Spragg,
Oh, nice.
obviously till I left. Other people, I'm trying to think. There's a couple of lads who are at Billingham now. Who I played with all through juniors,
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
and they're doing well. But Spragg will be the main one that you'd know. Just
Yeah.
every single team played with him on a line most years as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he's coming up. He's he's
Mhm.
he's definitely going to be one for the future as well.
yeah,
Go
And
on,
what was
Chaz.
it kind of like making, I believe, from Sin on Elite Prospects? As soon as you kind of turned 16, did you go straight into the Billingham Stars setup?
yeah. Well, I've been training with them for a while, and then I think I had maybe a day of being 16, and had my first game at Solway away. So
Oh, Solway
Oh,
away,
tough
top of the
place.
league,
yeah,
aren't
yeah,
they?
that was a nice one. But no, it was good because all the lads there were good with me when I was young and helped me progress. So yeah, it was good.
What was kind of the step up? Obviously you're still a young lad, but you had a couple seasons in the National One. How did you find that? What were kind of the main differences from that youth level? And you're like, oh, we're in the men's level now.
I think the speed of it
Yeah.
at the junior level, I could sort of control it. I guess like sort of my speed and however, but completely different game at seniors. It's a lot more structured as well than it was at juniors. But I like to think I transitioned pretty well. Managed to find my
Yeah.
feet quite quickly as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice one. Go on, Chaz.
100%. I remember that year you kind of were on a two-way with Leeds at Billingham, and I remember hearing people talking about, oh, there's this youngster from Billingham who's just gone to Leeds. What
yeah,
was it like having that kind of, because Leeds won was it the double that year when you kind of
yeah,
went a two-way? What was it like being a part of two teams which were pretty like top of the league end teams, and how was it kind of the winning mentality is what I'm trying to get to. What was it like having
yeah.
both teams winning?
No, it was like I really enjoyed that year because I'd play every Billingham game, and then when I wasn't playing at Billingham, I'd be at Leeds. Um, but going to Leeds only helped me for Billingham. I'd train at Leeds and get better and play when I did at Leeds, and then had a really good year at Billingham. We managed to. I mean, we didn't. With Solway was in the league at that point, so they were a joke. Like we didn't win anything past them. But that I think that was the switch from Billingham as well because they were doing the best before that, and then they've obviously come on really well in the last few couple of years. So it's good to see for them as well.
Yeah, they
Obviously,
just
you
won the
come.
cup, didn't
Yeah,
they?
Yeah, they
yeah, yeah.
just won the cup. Yeah,
We were just talking about off camera. They just got the cup yesterday, so I bet you're buzzing for them.
yeah. I
What
got a
was
couple of lads sending me photos of the cup and with the
oh
beers and
nice.
all that. So
What was kind of you obviously made that progression up to Leeds, and you had that kind of half a season with them on the two way, and then how was that kind of off season? Was Ryan like, I want you to real step up this season? I see you as part of kind of the Knights project.
yeah, Ryan gave us a call and was like, "I want you full time." And as well, I'd at Billingham, their owner was like, "We sort of saw it coming as well that you were they're gonna go and stuff." So it was all everyone was good about it. But yeah, he wanted me full time, and I was happy, and I felt like I could do a job, and was happy to come here. Yeah,
Hmm.
Obviously, you've been here the last couple of years. I wanted to ask this. What was your welcome to the National League moment, the kind of time where it clicked for you, where you're like, okay, now I know I'm ready for this level kind of thing? What was that? Because I know I listened to the Spitting Chicklets and they always ask the NHL players what was kind of that moment, and it was for a lot of them it was like getting absolutely smoked by one of the guys in
Yeah.
the league or something like that. So what was kind of the moment for you?
Um, I'm not too sure it's anything like getting smoked, to be honest. But
It's a bit different in our league,
yeah, yeah. But I'd been at GB with Ollie and Bailey.
Yeah.
And before that, that first half of the year, I wasn't getting much ice time. I was like the extra guy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know whether it was injuries or something, but when we came back, I was back in centre,
Yeah.
and I just felt way, like so much more comfortable and
Hmm.
seemed to just thrive a bit more. And I think from then I've just been pretty solid. And yeah, that's it.
Nice one. Go
Hmm.
on, Chaz.
And I think most people would say kind of each year of the National League, it seems like you've taken that step forward each year.
Yeah.
What do you think's kind of really clicked for you this season to be at that point of game mark, be relied on a lot more? As we can tell at Leeds, it is almost three lines just rolled equally, and you just put them out there. What has been that difference for you in your game, which has helped you become a point of game player at the level?
Um, I think just the like sort of getting more comfortable with the amount I've been playing.
Yeah.
Obviously, playing with Ollie and Innes, we enjoy that. A bit of chemistry there, so like we know where each other's going to be and we know how to play with each other. But I think just the more and more I'll play and learn the league and learn different things, the better I'll become. I'd imagine, hopefully, anyway.
There's a lot of stars obviously in Leeds. We could go through so many of them. Who was the guy when you first come in? Who was that guy who's saying, right, he just watch me, watch some of the stuff I do. Who was giving you tips in training, games, etc.
Well, when I was first there, and on weekends I'd sometimes stay in his house was Grant Cooper.
Not
Oh,
a bad
not a
player to
bad
learn off
player,
of.
bloody
No,
hell.
not bad. He was one that would I'd talk to a little bit when he was for the short time he was here,
Yeah.
and he helped me out. And I'd since then it would probably be Matty Haywood. I think would
Yeah.
has got a lot of experience and he's shown us that. So yeah,
You
We
got a lot.
definitely.
It's quite a good balance in Leeds because you've got a lot of senior guys, and obviously you've got Bissonnette in this year as
yeah,
well. But then you've got the young crop as well. It's mad to think Kieran's still what 20, 23
yeah,
years old.
yeah.
Like I think the balance is really good in Leeds. Go on, Charlie.
We had a question from a special person for you, and I thought it's a good time to ask it. Who's the nastiest left winger you've ever played with?
Oh, I think there's an answer that I'm supposed to say. It'd have to be Oli Endicott. Nasty in the other way though, not the way he thinks. I'd argue.
What is it about the third line though? Because obviously I saw on your story when you won the cup, you embrace being that third liner, and it's not really about that at Leeds. I think that's the difference between Leeds and maybe some other teams and other players on other teams. You're not really too bothered if you're not getting on the top line and stuff because it's as Charlie said earlier, it's shared out equally, and as you guys said, you're just embracing that third line and you love playing together as a three.
Yeah, like we don't typical third line like you're going out there and grinding and trying not to get scored on, but we don't see it as that. We just
No.
we have that sort of tendencies of
Yeah.
forechecking and things, but we'll we can play as well. We bring different things, and like it seems to work. And the best part about it is we're all like really good mates off the ice.
Hmm.
I'm living with Innes this year. Ollie's just down the corridor, so like it's been really fun this year. So hopefully it continues.
Yeah.
And one of the guys I wanted to mention, and probably the most important part of Leeds is Ryan Aldridge. Since he's gone there, there's definitely been a switch. I think his first season was the season you joined mid-year. What's it been like working under Ryan, and like why is he so successful as a coach?
Um, I think it's just the way his sort of style works, like
Yeah.
the way he um like orchestrates us.
Yeah.
It's there's a real winning mentality, and you can get shouty and stuff sometimes, but I respond pretty well to that.
Yeah.
So, I think it just works. Everything's clicking. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely a serial winner, and I think it helps that maybe he's used to coaching those young guys as well. You got a lot on your team who played in the
Yeah.
OHA system, and they've played
Yeah.
under him before as well. So
Yeah.
I can imagine it's kind of just gone through into Leeds as well, and then add in some senior guys.
There's uh like with Volley and Bailey and Mac was there. There's that
Bo as
connection
well, I think, was there.
and Boy, yeah, and Chris actually for a little bit.
Yeah,
So there's a that connection. I think that only like strengthens it. I think it's because then you know the person more, and
yeah.
it's not like going into a fresh new team or whatever. But no, it really works, and he's a really good coach as well, which is the main thing. So
Yeah, we've
And
got to mention it. I don't know if you're going to
I
mention it,
was just
Charlie.
about to say,
Yeah, go on.
the big kind of moment for you, and I think it was a really standout, was you got captain for under 20 GB this year.
yeah,
How did that come about? And it kind of gives you credit to show your leadership skills as well.
yeah. To be honest, I didn't have like much of an inkling before. We just had a meeting when we were in Croatia, and Grubby just went, "Here's the captains and assistants." So, but it was really really special. There's not many people that get to do that. So it was nice to know that I was wanted in for leadership and I'd lead the team. So yeah.
What was that whole experience like? I know maybe it wasn't the end result which you guys wanted, but there's some really tough. It sounded like, looked like from watching the games, the level of all the teams as well was even higher than it had been previous season. So what was it like playing in those games and playing alongside some of your mates as well who you'd played with recently?
Yeah, no, any GB trip away is good. The crack with the lads is always good. Being away, but I'd argue that the level of teams were the closest I've of a tournament I've been in.
Really?
From the top to the bottom,
Yeah.
I'd say so.
I think I could notice that in the way they were playing as well. It was
Yeah,
very hard hockey.
yeah. Obviously it wasn't ideal for us results, but I think yeah, it was. It's still a good tournament, but I think it was just a few mistakes, but then like games could go switch really easily. So it is what it is. But you look back on it with it was a good memory. So
Yeah. And you've had some good fun with GB. You've played 3 years of under 20s. Are you eligible next year or are you not?
no, that was my last year. That
As
when
your
I was
last
gone.
year. So how does it feel, the fact that you've kind of completed your GB time?
Yeah,
Well, maybe not. Hopefully you make the men's
well,
team.
hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's the thing. It was good to go out, leading the team, being a captain and things. Playing with mates grew up with, and played with through all levels. So no, it's good way to end my junior career.
This season, then, I think you've taken probably one of the biggest steps we've seen from a young lad, considering you're only 19 years old as well. I'm going to echo the question again, but what do you think's clicked this year where you've got 22 goals, more goals than you've got assists, and you're just popping up in massive moments? I remember back to the Sheffield semi-final, you scored with 2 seconds left of that first period. What is
Yeah,
it about this season where you're getting relied on those big moments, and how does that feel, that knowing that you've got a bit of responsibility on yourself as well?
yeah. No, it's nice to know that I've got responsibility in the team and wanted. Um, I don't know. I'm not too sure. I think just from the way I've been playing, Ryan's obviously shown faith in me and on the power play and things,
Yeah.
and again, just I think game time as opposed to like the first half of last year and the year before. If I'm on the ice, I can show what I can do, and so I like to put the puck in the net. I like to score goals, so I've been showing that. Yeah,
Nice one. This season, then, obviously it's been a lot tighter this season. I think the level of a lot of other teams has gone up as well. Has winning this cup, and finally getting it over the line, given all you boys that extra little bit of motivation, to go and get that treble this season? Because it's the first time you've won that first trophy, and now you got the chance to go and win another two as well.
yeah. No, I definitely. I think it's a massive help. I think we've we've had periods where we've say not struggled, but like our levels dipped and whatever. So I think getting back to winning ways is good, and winning the cup's just going to help us, it's a pretty good feeling winning. So
Yeah.
it should spur everyone on to do it another 2 times this year, hopefully.
Yeah.
And have you got any personal goals to finish the year? Like, did you set yourself targets before the year?
Um, Not really. I think I obviously just wanted to like produce more for the team
Mm.
and be playing a lot more, but just take it as it comes. See what happens, and if it's going well, it's going well. Try and keep it going well. But no, I just want to win. Really, that's the main thing. I think so.
Kieran Brown then, obviously he's captain. I've watched the game on Friday. Just another hat trick for him. He seems to just be on an absolute heater right now. What's it like playing with him? Watching him, playing with him in training, because he's probably been the best player in the national the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, no, he's a joker. He just knows where to be, how to put the puck in that. That's all he does basically. But most importantly, he's like a good lad as well. Like
Yeah.
he's and he's a leader. He leads on the ice. He shows the lads what we need to do. So couldn't ask for much more out of him.
It's not good for the rest of the league how he's picking up
Yeah,
this amount of numbers as well.
yeah, he's been on a streak recently, which is good. So
Go on,
Yeah.
Chaz.
Yeah, your goalie's not too bad either, is he?
no, he's all right.
We don't mind him. He's a bit annoying when he saves too many shots.
Yeah, it sounds unreal, man.
What
Sounds
was it
unreal.
like in Peterborough? Obviously, it is a place you've struggled with. It's such a tough place to go. Obviously, it's a bit different rink that Peterborough soak in their own barn. But how good did that feel to get the win there? Because I don't know. I think it's been quite a while since you've managed to get a win there, and that must give you guys a lot of confidence as well.
Yeah, I don't think we'd beaten them this year there,
No.
but um, we just went in there same as every game, just play our game, and to be honest, they didn't come out as hard as we thought they would.
Yeah.
So and we got out to a lead early, so yeah, and then just ended up killing the game off. It was pretty good team performance, I'd say. Yeah,
Mhm.
Go on,
Gozzy
Chaz.
stood on his head again, obviously, so that helps.
It's a
Yeah,
joke. We saw how many saves he made as well.
yeah.
I said to Jack that not many teams go to Peterborough and concede one goal and that's it. And that is Sam Gospel summed up.
Well, we can see we had a 5-on-3, and just as the 5-on-3 ended, they scored after maybe been the seventh rebound. So yeah, it was pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, close to
What
getting a shout
What is it about Leeds? I asked Ollie the same thing, but I want to hear what you say. What is it about this Leeds team when you get a lead, you guys are just holding on to it? I think that's so key as well. You talked about you can score goals as that third line, but also you can shut the game down, and you've got the team to be able to, once you've got a lead, play that professional game of just shutting it down. And you guys did that in the final as well. So, what do you think so key about your team for doing that this season?
Um, I think I think we've just got a solid defensive group. Not only the
Yeah,
D, like we've got Matt Haywood's great defensively.
yeah,
Biz has got the longest stick in the world, so he can get a puck out of anywhere. Um, just and we take pride in our defense. I certainly do.
yeah,
Um, we've got Matty Barron and Ollie who block shots all day. Just, I think it's just a case of wanting to win, and you got to do what you got to do to win. So I think the whole team buys into that, and it works. So yeah,
yeah. Go on, Chaz.
100%. Shall I finish off with the
Well,
question?
I've got one more before you finish off, Charlie. Obviously, it's actually pretty good timing with the interview. You signed another 2-year deal with Leeds.
yeah,
How easy was it to sign that deal with the Knights?
yeah. It was pretty easy. Yeah, Ryan said like obviously we want you back, and I'm happy to be back. It's not too far away from home for me, Leeds anyway, so that's quite nice. But like Leeds will look after you. The fans are great. The the castle when it's bouncing, it's really good to be there. So
Yeah,
yeah, there was literally nothing that would steer me away. So yeah,
it's not a bad little place to be for another 2 years, is
no,
it?
no, not too bad.
Go on, Chaz.
Well, you spoke about them at the start, and many people have said that's the loudest rink they've ever been in on the cup final weekend. What is your message to the loud Leeds Knights fans?
Yeah, keep going. Honestly, that like after the first period, that's all we were talking about was how loud it was, and after Chris's fight as well, like it's deafening. But it's like it's a good deafening. That's
Yeah.
what you want to be playing with every week, and I wouldn't want to go into a building and hear that every week because I wouldn't like it. So, um, yeah, just keep it going, keep up the support. It's much appreciated.
Nice one,
Mm.
Finn. Appreciate you hopping on. Well done for winning the cup again, and good luck for the rest of the season. And
No
obviously,
worries.
we're glad you've stuck around in the national for another couple of years as well.
Yeah,
It's always nice to watch you play.
yeah. No, thanks for having us on, lads. Cheers.
Thanks,
Thank
mate. And welcome back. Thank you, Finn and Ollie, for hopping on. I wonder how many more times Ollie's going to come back on town. Seems like
Yeah,
a bit of a regular.
probably a few more times, I reckon.
Yeah. He's our most he's been on the podcast the most out of any players. So and we've had a sister on, so technically we've had
Yeah, you
four
may as well
episodes of
get the
the
whole
Endicott.
family on.
Yeah, may as well get Gareth on at some point. Really nice guy, Gareth. But let's get into the week then. And it kind of started on the Wednesday, and the Leeds Knights played against the Sheffield Steel Dogs. Sorry, it was the
That was
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
And they beat the Steel Dogs 6-0, shut out the couple days after they won the cup. So just shows how mature they are, Dan. Yes, they had a good time. Yes, they celebrated, but they knew they're still in business here. They got a cup to win. 6-0 as well. Sam Gospel's just hit that point, hasn't he?
Yeah, this is the thing. They've still got this battle with MK. Like they can't afford to drop any points. They can't afford to be lackadaisical like that. They can't afford to go after that cup game party and then be hungover for that game. They just can't do it. Like imagine coming to the end of the season and the fact you drop points after a game like that and because you party too hard. Like it's just stupid to look back at something like that. So Leeds know what they've got to do. They've done it before. They've been in this position before. Um, but I think now they've got that cup, I just think their mentality is going to be dangerous going to the rest of the year. I think they're just going to keep rolling now. I don't see them sort of stopping. I think that game against MK is going to be such a big game because I think both teams now have got that same mentality where they're just going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling. So yeah, I think coming down to the 15th is going to be huge.
Yeah. They're just a wagon at the moment. But on the next day, the Wednesday, Peterborough went to town against the Telford Tigers, 12-3. Luke Ferrara having 4 goals, 8 points on the night. Just a crazy game. One probably Telford want to just put in the history books and forget about. But yeah, yeah, it's just nuts. There's a lot of 12 goals at the moment. There was obviously 12. It's weird. Telford won 12-6 and then they lose 12-3. It's just a weird old game hockey. But we won't really go into that one because, well, Luke Farrar got 8 points. That's all you need to know, really.
There's a lot of goals.
Yeah. And then Zay McKenzie got his first actually as well. For the Phantoms. I think he's probably going to play with them the rest of the season and get into that playoff spot
Yeah.
with them. So that'll be good to see. It's nice he's settled somewhere actually, Zane McKenzie, because he's kind of struggled a bit around. I know he's been with Coventry a bit, but he's kind of found his way at Peterborough. And then the Friday game, Leeds against Sheffield again. They're just playing each other so many times this season. And it was a bit better performance from Sheffield actually, but they got Kieran Brown, a hat trick from Brown, a short-handed goal as well, which is, you just knew as soon as he went one-on-one, he was going to score. A little through the legs tap in. He's just on another level at the moment. If we're going on his points, he's on 82 points at the moment. He had, before the Peterborough game, which they won, which we'll get into in a minute, 3 points, 4 points, 2 points, 1 points. And some of those were in the final as well. So he's just on an absolute heater. And the Kieran Brown, which we've seen at the best. So that was another 2 points for Leeds. And then moving on to the Saturday, one game we were finally at, Dan, and that was the Wildcats versus the Raiders. And after signing the 2-year deal, it was the perfect kind of game for Renimar, wasn't it? We started off with that 5-on-3 penalty kill. And that was just, we put the full penalty kill out on social media today. I think I counted 7 or 8 blocks within that 5-on-3 penalty kill. Glenn Billing lost his stick and then was just jumping in front of everything. But that just set the tone for the game, didn't it?
Yeah, I was saying at the game, if Raiders scored on that 5-on-3, it changes everything
In a different
because
game.
Romford, they would have gained so much momentum from that because it was actually a good power play.
Yeah, they
Like they
moved
did
it
have a
around,
good
right?
power play, but just Swindon's penalty kill was even better.
Yeah.
And some big saves from Rennie, big blocks from Glennie, like you said. Um, but yeah, that was one of the difference makers in that game. Like so early on, like it's mental to think that moment was such a big like game changer. But that's just how hockey is. The momentum that was gained from that for Swindon just pulled them through the game, and after that, you didn't really see Romford have any other sort of grade A opportunities. It was just
Yeah.
sort of it was all Swindon from that point.
I think if Romford had scored on the 5-on-3, I still think Swindon would have won. The way we were playing,
Yeah,
just
it just would have been different.
yeah, it would have
Like
been different. But if we had carried on playing even after we conceded, it don't matter now. We killed it, but 7-0 on the night. Minter stepped in. Obviously Slough didn't have a game, so Jacob played with Jamie. And it meant that Bebris got to go back as forward. And it was quite weird seeing him back as forward. He was kind of a bit of freedom for him in a way. Where he can just go on his little runs and skates, which he likes to do. But he scored twice, one in front of the net. Just no one can barge him off the puck, can they, Dan? He's just an absolute giant. And then the second one he scored was a nice little slap shot. Ryder probably could have saved it, but I thought it was actually all right, Ryder. He stopped it from being higher because he come in for James after the first. But yeah, Bebris got a couple. Britnell got 5 points on the night. When Britnell, I said as soon as it happened to Dan, because I wasn't actually standing with you guys, but as soon as I come down and said, when Britnell plays like that, the Wildcats are a really tough team to beat. And he made a really nice assist to Nell and then showed that he can also snipe it with a really nice goal. So and then Malazinski finished the game off with an even nicer goal. That was just a bit of class from him, taking it past the D-man, sniping it. So just the complete performance on the Saturday night for Swindon. And yeah, tough one for Romford, but they bounced back on the Sunday, which we'll talk about in a bit. The Seahawks then, Dan, after having those struggles, they didn't have their coach there as well. Sobchak got taken some points off of him. So obviously that was a null and void game, so no one gets points from that. So he got bumped down a couple. They had 4D men and 9 forwards. 3 of them, I think, were under 20. So just a tough game, but they played it perfectly, didn't they? They defended, they sat back, they stopped the bees, and when they got power play opportunities, with Swindon, they've got the best power play in the league, and they scored 3 power play goals to kill the game off, and they've not stolen 2 points, but it's the perfect away game for them, isn't it? Considering they were short benched.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're going into B's short bench, then that can be a trap that you could fall
Yeah,
into very easily because B's they will take advantage of that in their own rink because they can do it. Like, if you can get some really good offense from B's, you've obviously got Max right at the back as well. Like, they can steal games from you from like if you're short bench and sort of can't keep up with their forecheck and their zone pressure and stuff like that. But whole you've seen their power play so many times. Like their power play is lethal. The players that they've got on there, it's just like you'd be surprised if you didn't see a goal on the power play. They set up so well, and the thing that I like about their power play is every player that they've got on there, they use them to their strengths.
yeah,
Like Svek, he's always in one spot just for his 1-2. You've got Sobchak on the point because he can obviously play the puck around. He can skate in if there's space. He can make space like that. Um, and then you've obviously got Hewitt. You've got Cornell as well, and then you got Bobby. You know what Bobby can do. So their power play is just they use every player perfectly, and a power play is what can win you games sometimes, and they did that in bees.
yeah. Sounds like Zamostra had a really good game, and he seems to be the guy they're looking to at the moment. Out of him and McLaughlin, and it's not to say McLaughlin's a bad goalie. It's just when you've got a 1A and 1B, you're going to play the hot goalie, and at the moment it is Zamostra. So a big 4-1 win for Bees. I can imagine that was a good bus journey home.
For Hull.
Oh, sorry for Hull, but I can imagine it was a nice bus journey home from the Bees. Because it was what, five hours maybe from Slough. So a long old journey. Then it was the playoff clash, and this was a huge game. The Solway Sharks against the Tigers. If the Tigers won, the gap would have been up to 5 points. But if the Solway Sharks won, it would be down to 1 point. So it's technically, we always say on here, it's a 4-pointer, isn't it, Dan? It's a 4 point kind of swoosh. Is that what you say? No, 4-pointer. I don't know what the phrase is. But the Solway Sharks finally get a win. And I want to mention Callum Boyd because coming into the season, I hadn't really heard of him, I hadn't really seen him play much, and he was known as the typical grinder, but he is getting some goals at the moment, Dan. He's got 4 goals in his last 4 games, and he scored 2 big goals. And that's a massive win for Solway. We said, I think I remember saying last week, they just need to close out a third period. And they had the lead going into the third period. They were 4-3 up on the Tigers going into the third period. And then they scored 2 quick goals and they killed the rest of the game off. And that is exactly the kind of game they needed to do at home, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the exact thing that they've not been able to do the whole season. That's their biggest issue in most of their games is it's not the fact that they can't score goals, because they do sometimes take the lead, but it's the fact they just can't hold any lead.
Yeah.
And I think it's good what you talk about with Boyd, because we've said about Solway is they've sort of had to rely on one line most of the year, and they've never really had that sort of depth scoring. So if they can really start getting those depth guys scoring going into their late playoff push, and if they do make it into playoffs, having the depth scoring going into playoffs, that could be huge for them. And it's something that they know they need to work on because depth is very important. I think I've said that a lot of times this year, but but yeah, they need to start getting these depth guys scoring and start getting some confidence up for them. And yeah, fair play to Boyd, because he's a guy that no one's going to talk about, but he'll just go about his business every game, and if he keeps scoring goals, then happy days.
Yeah, it is the depth guys who are actually stepping up for him. And scoring a lot of goals. And I think when you add that, when Gardner and Dunbar can kind of hit their stride in these last few games, if they can, mix that with a bit of depth scoring, and just seeing games out, they could sneak that playoff spot. So it's a big win for them. David Thompson, by the way, I know they've been losing a couple games, but he scored 2 really nice goals against Peterborough in the week. He scored 2 really nice ones against Solway on Saturday. So he's definitely someone who I think maybe a couple teams next season, Dan, might be asking him, okay, do you want to sign for us? You'd like to sign for us? You know what I mean, I think he's been really good this season. Onto the doubleheader, and this is really tough. Bristol Pitbulls, a sold out game, by the way. And they lose 11-0 to the Lightning. It's just sad. It's sad. I know they've got a lot of injuries. 16-year-old Harry Thomas was put in goal, Dan, and we're not sure whether Tommy was on the bench, but we think he might have a little knock. So maybe they didn't want to risk it against MK when they probably know they were going to lose. But 11-0, it's not good, is it? I don't know what to say. It's just sad, really, and seeing a lot of the Bristol fans on the forum, who are upset after the game, and it's just not nice to see, is it? We hate teams getting sloshed, don't we?
Yeah, it's a tough weekend for Bristol, but it was going to be a tough weekend even if
It
they had a
was,
full
yeah,
roster.
but getting shut out, man.
Yeah, they got shut out. I think yeah, Harewood went off after the second period, I think, or the first period. So that's sort of one guy that they're going to be looking at for goals, and he was in there. Um, they had a lot of guys out as well. Barry was in there. I think he had some family issues at home. Butler as well. Butler's been struggling with injuries. So it is going to be a tough game, and it was unfortunate that Bristol were playing MK when they're in this position where they need to score these goals for goal difference.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not like they were even going to sort of take their foot off the gas. They just needed to get some goals. Um, but it's one of those things. Yeah, it is tough, but at the same time, you're in the league. It's going to happen. All you can do is just look on for the following weekend. Like you just have to put it behind
They've
you.
got
I
an
think,
MK double header out of the way now.
yeah, there's a positive thing that came out today. That it looks like a lot of the
A
players
lot of
that
them are
are
coming
injured
back.
are coming back next week.
Yeah.
So
Look,
I think
you
nearly
look at
all
it
of them
like
are.
this. They lost Harewood halfway through the game. They've not got two imports playing, and one of them is the goalie who you heavily rely on to try and keep you in a game. And then Butler as well, who, when he's playing, he can be one of the best D men, if not the best D man on his day. I think he's still the top point scoring D man, and he hasn't played for like 3 weeks. So it's tough. Nine different goal scorers for MK though. Nag's got a couple goals. Spadafor was back in the team. I think Wallace took the weekend off. Salisbury scored his first goal as well. So it's what you'd expect really. And to be fair, we'll talk about it in a second. It wasn't as bad on the Sunday for the Pitbulls, but the other game on the Saturday, the final game was Leeds Peterborough, and this is a big one actually because it was, if you're looking at the remaining fixtures for Leeds, this is probably one of their toughest ones. Peterborough away, they've stumbled there so many times in the past. They haven't beaten them there this season, and they get a 4-1 win. And Charlie made a point that not many teams, he said this to Finn, I think, not many teams come out of Peterborough conceding just one goal. So just credit to Sam Gospel. If we're looking at the team stats, Sam Gospel made 38 out of 39 saves. It's just he is just ridiculous. We've run out of words to say about him. But Matty Barron, just a hat trick when they need someone to step up with a goal and it's not Kieran Brown. Matty Barron comes in and all assisted by Bissonnette.
But that's exactly what Barron's been doing this year. Like
Yeah.
we were talking about yesterday before we made our trip. And we were just talking about how at the start of the year, obviously Brown didn't play; he was injured, but Barron came in and Barron really took that role. And you don't really expect him to do that, but the fact that he has got that in his locker and the fact that he can do it is massive. And like you said, in games like that against Peterborough, when it you are going to heavily mark Brown because you know what you can do. He's their main guy. But the fact that you got Barron there that can obviously take up that role as well, it's just like you can't stop both. And when you've got players like on the level of Bissonnette around them as well, they're just going to make goals easy for them. Like Bissonnette will find a pass anywhere on the ice, and they'll just make it into an empty net tap in when there'll be like five guys in between the pass. But it's just what Bissonnette does. So yeah, Leeds are rolling, and they're not going to stop.
Yeah, it's going to be some race to the end of the season. Which team is going to crack first? And that
That'll be the big thing.
one little error, maybe one lapse of judgment for 5-10 minutes could cost the season. And that is to get a 3-1 lead in Peterborough and just kill the game off and get an empty net goal at the end. That is a title winning team. That shows what Leeds have been doing over the last few years. But credit to MK, they've been doing that a lot more this season, which is what they haven't been doing in the last few seasons. So yeah, it's going to be some little title race. The Sunday games then, the early one. It's always the early one with Sheffield. 4-2 win against the Solway Sharks. The Sharks actually going up 1-0 in 1 minute. But yeah, Walker Sommer, another two goals. He got one with 1 second remaining, the empty net, which takes his tally up to 42 on the season. Which is
Wow.
bonkers. But Nordstrom with another big goal. It was a really nice one, actually. We saw it. And he's taken on a big role, isn't he, Dan, with Tremblay full-time Steelers. He is now the number one centre of the team.
Yeah, and he's going to be taking that by the scruff. He's a
He's
guy
going to
that,
want to prove
yeah,
it, isn't he?
he can play that role. Like
Yeah.
he's got the capabilities to do that. Um, he's still so young. A lot of people you sort of forget how young he is when until you look.
22.
Yeah, like he's a young player. Like we talk about these young players, but no one ever really talks about Bjorky Nordstrom because the way he plays and it feels like he's been around forever. Like it doesn't feel like he's a young guy in the league, but the fact he's won a trophy, won in Coventry, and he was unreal in Coventry. And I think looking at him in Coventry shows the best of Bjorky Nordstrom. And if he can carry that and grow it, I think Sheffield are going to have no issues with that role. I think Bjorky Nordstrom can happily take that role. And I don't think he'll even look out of place doing that role.
I've always said I think he's the perfect type of player to go up and play in the elite league. I really do.
Yeah, he is.
I
In
think
those
that's what
big
he's going.
games as well,
Yeah,
he's unreal.
I think that's well. You just look at the game, the playoff final. He was
Hmm.
unplayable in that final with Slagkowski, on that top line. So it's a big win for Sheffield. It's a tough one for Solway because of the Telford result. They don't end up actually gaining any points on them, which we'll go into in a minute. But it's not too bad. They haven't conceded a ridiculous amount of goals. Technically, they've only conceded three. Empty nets, we don't really count them, do we, Dan? Like technically, it's a 3-2 game, and they've not quite managed to tie it up. So it's much more positive over the weekend for Solway, Dan, that they've been within two games and they won one of them.
Yeah, and especially they were in the game on the road as well.
Yeah.
They that's the game. That's what they've struggled with. They've struggled with those results on the road. But going into Sheffield is hard anyway. They're a good team. It's hard ring to play in because Sheffield really know how to play on that ice,
Yeah.
and it's sort of a weird one because you don't have atmosphere there. It's just sort of you're just playing like you're playing a game with no atmosphere. It's weird, but yeah, I think so. We have got to take positives from that because it is something that they have struggled with in the past.
Yeah. Then a bonkers game. The Raiders 9-6 against the Peterborough Phantoms. TJ Anderson getting two, Schufelt getting two, Sylvester getting a hat trick. Just a bonkers game. The second period had a ridiculous amount of goals between the two teams. And yeah, tough weekend for Peterborough actually. No points this weekend. Obviously, nothing in Leeds and then nothing in Romford. But that's a must needed win for Romford because obviously losing the final, then losing quite heavily to Swindon, but they show that they can score a lot of goals. It's kind of a little warning, like, okay, we've been shut out yesterday. We've kind of got to score goals today.
Yeah, and they were without Miller in that game as
No
well.
Miller, no Morrison, so Leishram was back.
Yeah, and this is the thing when you go to Romford and you play that game, Romford are going to play you off the park because that is how Romford love to play. They love to just play that all-out offensive game because most of the time they will score more than you. It's just they can't defend as much as you. So if you're playing in that game like Peterborough did, Romford are going to be they're going to be rubbing their hands at that because that's their forte. They just go all out offense, don't care about the defense, just try and score more than the other team, and that's exactly what Romford did in that game.
Yeah, it's another one of them games where it's just like you just at the end of the day you forget the scoreline. It's 2 points, move on. Same, I'm sure Slava will be saying that we only lose 2 points at the end of the day. Let's just move on from it. As we come to that final push of the season. The whole Seahawks a really good win at home. They complete the double over the Bees 6-2. It's who you'd guess who's going to be on the score sheet. Speck with another hat trick. Sorry, just to look at Speck's points the last 5 games. This is actually bonkers, Dan. He has got 4 points, 3 goals against the Bees. The night before against the Bees, 1 goal, 2 assists to make 3 points. The weekend before against the Steel Dogs, 1 goal, 4 assists to 5 points. The game before that, 3 goals, 2 assists to 5 points. So he had a 10-point weekend last week. And then the game before that against Romford, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. So if we're adding that up, 7, 17, 19 points in his last 5 games. That's
Yeah.
a 4 point pace a
Hmm.
game. That is
And
just absolutely bonkers.
and that's the guy that a few months ago we were talking about. He's not really
Struggling to get
yeah,
points.
he's not really showing the points that we know he can. But this is just hockey. Like, you go through patches like that, and the biggest thing about going through patches like that is how you come out of them. And yeah, he must have just found some sort of spark, and he's just gone with it, and it's just ignited, and now he's on this roll. And when we sort of forgotten about his patch that he had with like hardly any points,
Yeah,
but
I think you said when he was going through that patch, it's just a case of going back to what you know. Maybe just go back to basics and what
just hit it.
Sveck's the best
That's what
at.
he's good at, just
Shoot
hitting
it
the
in the
puck,
puck, just
just
slapping
smack
the puck. The
it.
goalies hate it. The amount of slap shots I've seen him score since he went through that tough patch, and at the moment he's probably the hottest player in the league, points wise. So obviously it helps when you're playing with Sobchak, who's an elite playmaker. And shout out to Sobchak because he finally does become the first player to get 100 points. And he capped it off with a nice little goal as well. So he gets 100 points, and he's been phenomenal this season. And I think for me, he's on the perfect team, Dan, to suit the way he plays. He's got the perfect line mates. He's just the perfect national player where it is heavy on the points. And that's not to say he's not got that two-way defensive game, but you don't need to do that 100% like these European leagues. That's not to say he can play in that, but he just suits this league so much, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He's a point juggernaut.
He
I'll say this right now. I've said it so many times. I said he finished top point scorer, and this is the reason why, because he's just a point magician.
yeah, he seems to be involved in every single goal. I think Holmosh has put his name on there for everyone, even when he's not on the ice. So just, yeah, give it a sub check. But when you watch him play, you can see why he's involved in so many goals, because he does he drives every bit of offense.
The
Like, he is,
orchestrator.
yeah, he's the guy that carries the puck in. He's the guy that you pass the puck to when you're struggling for space down low. He's the guy that's going to make that space for you. He's the guy that's going to find you open back door. Like, he just does everything, and he's an unbelievable player for Hull. And I'm pretty sure he's signed for 2 years, right? So
Yeah,
is he here for the next year as well?
the next
I
season.
mean, Hull are going to be laughing because they've got another year of Sobchak, and he's a guy that you can build a team around a guy like that. You really, really can.
Yeah, he's probably one of the best players on the power play as well. Just stick him on the point, and he'll find those passes, those seams, which no other player can. And just like Svek, just going past his last 5 games, 4 points, 2 points, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. So just consistently getting 3 points a game. So yeah, big 4 point weekend for Hull after a tough weekend for them off the ice. And then it was the MK Lightning. And a bit better performance from Bristol Pitbulls. They limited the Lightning to just 1 goal in that third period. Maybe the Lightning put their foot off the pedal a little bit, but flipping Harry Thomas, I just want
Hmm.
to say, fair play to him, man. Like, he's come up against probably, along with Hull, probably the most offensive juggernauted team, the Lightning, and he had 66 shots on him. 66 shots on him. And he saved 57 of them on the night. So fair play to him, just 16 years old, Dan. I'm trying to think. 16. I was 16 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was 16, and he's in MK away facing 66 shots. It's just absolutely brutal. But they did get a couple. Lewis Walensky. Walensky's actually, considering Bristol in quite a bad patch, he's actually found his feet quite quickly, and they've needed him to as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame really, because I think if Bristol did get on a bit of a roll when he came in, I think they would have actually been all right, because he has started off really, really
He's
well.
got 10 points. Sorry,
Yeah,
9 points in his last 5 games, two
and like
4-point games.
the game against Telford the other week, he scored 4 goals. Like they scored 6 goals in that game and they lost. Like it's tough,
He
but
couldn't do any more. He did his
yeah,
job.
he's doing exactly what Import should be doing. But it's just a shame that the team as a whole is just sort of going through that rough patch. So he's not sort of getting any reward for his plays. So it's one of those times where it's unlucky, but he's just got to keep at it and just sort of don't like he can't put his head down really because he is an import in this league. Imports are heavily relied on, so the good times will come. They will get that, but they will get a good win, and it'll sort of keep the spirits up. But you might just have to wait a bit of time for it.
Yeah, I think they'll want to end the season well. They're probably not going to get, well, they won't get playoffs, I don't think. They're way too many points behind now. But when they get those guys back, they want to just end the season and play. I think last season when they were going through this tough patch day, in fact, I remember us saying, play for your contracts, play for your place in the national next season. There's going to be a few guys in that team who we're probably not going to see. Let's be honest about it. We're probably not going to see in the National League next season. But there's a few other guys who really got to play for their contract, Dan, because I think it's got to that point in the season now where maybe Bees and Bristol they've got nothing really else to play for apart from a deal next season and just trying to end the season positively.
And you've got one player on that Bristol team. I think a lot of people know I'm on about, but you've got a guy on that team that's playing for a big contract. Like there's a guy in that team that's going to be looking for one team to look at him, and he's really
It's
got
Bailey Harewood. We
yeah.
know Bailey Harewood's been in and out of this Cardiff deal, and I can imagine he's a Welsh lad. He would love to play for Cardiff, and so just about finding the right time for him. And as we've said it, we're not going to beat around the bush. When Bailey Harewood goes, that's their best player going down, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll need to find some of these gems. I think Smetham, particularly for me, is one who I'm really excited about for the future and someone that Bristol got to try and hold of. But they're still a new team. I think people forget they've only been in the league 2 seasons, or 3 seasons, sorry. So yeah, it's a tough one at the moment, but they've got to just try and end the season well and play for
And
their.
if they all went to plan, this was meant to be their first season in the national because they came up 2 seasons
Yeah, they were
early.
gonna. Yeah.
So this they have been unfortunate with how they started, but like I say, we can't keep going back to it. Like they're in the league now, they've just got to weather the storm, and
And they're still getting sold out fans.
yeah,
These
that's a
fans are,
positive.
I'm not going to swear, but flipping amazing fans that they're still coming to these games and supporting them. Go and finish the season strong. Pull out some big performances. They've got Swindon in a few weeks. I can imagine that is a game where they're probably eyeing up. Yes, Swindon have had their number a bit this season. They've managed to get a win against them in overtime, but go and play your heart out. And yeah, we've said enough on it. But yeah, they're going for a slump at the minute. But as you said, they've got a few guys coming back now. So hopefully they'll get a few guys and they can be a bit more competitive. And then the final game of the weekend was the one we were at, and it was the Telford Tigers putting on probably one of their best performances of the season, Dan, at both ends of the ice. They got that early goal, 51 seconds in. It was actually quite a nice play. They moved it around really nicely, and it was a tidy little finish from Finn Howes. And then something we've criticised Telford on, Dan, is defensive structure, not giving too much to the opposition. And that first period, Tom Watkins said it, they played really well that first period, and they could have come out of that 2 or 3 goals ahead.
Oh yeah, easy. But again, we said it about the Romford game. That first 5 minutes, that really sort of showed what Telford could do in that
Sets the
game,
tone.
and the fact that they scored from it as well, they had their heads up. You could tell they wanted that game. Like
They
every goal
needed
that they
to after the
scored,
Solway game the day before.
yeah, and obviously recent performances as well. They needed something, and yeah, they finally got some results from their plays, and after that first goal went in, they kept coming and coming and coming. They just kept coming in waves. Um, it didn't feel like you were playing a team that's sort of fighting for that playoff spot. Like you felt like you were playing a team that was comfortably sort of mid-table, I'd say. But yeah, every single player on that ice was just playing their heart out, playing for the badge, playing for a result, and that's exactly what they got. And I don't think Tom Watkins could have any complaints about any player on the ice last night.
No, no. The standout one for us, firstly, Brad Day.
Yeah,
He's had a tough
he's
season.
yeah,
He has had a tough season, and don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of games where the defense hasn't really helped him too much. That Peterborough game, a lot of those goals weren't his fault. They were just goals which, as a keeper, you just got to go, well, if I'm not getting help, then they're going to go in the back of the net. But in that second period, Dan, where Swindon put on that pressure, put on the momentum, created some chances. Brad Day, that was shades of the Brad Day we've seen in the previous seasons, wasn't it?
yeah. We you know what? When Brad Day's on it, he's very very hard to beat. Like when you get Brad Day comfortable, he is very very good. And I think the way that Brad Day was playing boosted the D men as well. The D men just they felt more comfortable having Brad Day like that behind them, and they were sort of playing for Brad Day at some points. And because at some points in that game, it didn't look like he was getting beat. Like it really didn't. And I think they did get a bit of luck as well, but I'm not saying Telford didn't deserve to win.
Yeah, we hit the
Like
post a few times, but
yeah,
at the end of the day, the post is still a miss.
yeah,
It
it's
missed the target.
yeah, and it's the game. Like sometimes you do have moments like that where you do have to ride your luck. Like every team does it. But yeah, fair play to Telford. I think they yeah they played a really really good game against a team that has just come off a big win on the Saturday night and a heavy offensive win as well. And they've come into that game. They've nullified any offensive threat for a good two periods, and they've just scored. They've been very clinical, and they've just had a very high forecheck and not given Swindon any time on the puck.
Yeah, no, it was a good 60-minute performance from them, and Swindon went at their best. We didn't play to how we did on the Saturday, especially. I thought we were really good on the Saturday. But Mitchell King, got to mention him.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice finish on the power play. I don't think Rennie even saw it. It was such a snipe in that top right corner. The third one, Rennie will want back. He will want that back. That's the first one this season, really. I know the Hamill one was it hit the wrong part. The first one this season, Dan, where it's probably like he probably would have liked that one back, and he pulled himself at 3-0. And maybe that was just like, I need a reset here. Um, we want to try and get Rennie really comfortable for playoffs. So Tyler come in, and Tyler actually did a really good job, didn't he? I
Mm-hmm.
thought he obviously didn't concede any more goals. And it actually looked like Swindon could have got it back right at the end there. Brad Day made another really good save on now the one timer, and the rebound could have gone anywhere, but they managed to just get the win. And fair play to them. Sometimes
Yeah,
you just got to hold your hand up and say fair play, and maybe they've got Telford, they've got Leeds and MK to play this season. They could cause another little upset, couldn't they?
yeah, and also one thing you spoke about Thompson against Solway. I want to give a shout out to Henderson. I think I really like Henderson. From when I first watched him, I thought he was a very, very good import. I like the way he plays. He's just a guy that never gives up on a play. He gives 110% every shift. He'll always be on the forecheck. He'll be the first one into the corner. Um, he'll just work for every single play. And I think a team like Telford needed a guy like that. And I think having him is just so big in those sort of games, like there was last night, because Telford did have very like heavy forecheck. They had a lot of zone pressure and they had a lot of zone time. And having a guy like Henderson just always going into the board battles and always battling for the puck, just keeping that pressure on there, I think is massive for Telford. And I think yeah, shout out to Henderson because
Yeah,
he's been a great addition.
I don't think he got a point actually, but his two-way defensive game kind of shut down our guys as well. So that's what their import line did, because all three imports played on the same night.
Yeah.
They didn't score, but they just kind of shut Swindon down a little bit. And yeah, it's a big win for them. And I think, unfortunately, that does mean I don't think Swindon are going to be able to catch up. It was a tough ask anyway. But we've just got to try and create a run now to the end of the season and come playoffs. And that's a massive win for Telford, because if we're looking at the table, that now puts them back to 3 points ahead. Also, it was a really nice Nando's. We always go for Nando's before Telford, and that was one of my best ones. It was a good little
Yeah, they did. They
Nando's.
didn't have liver. That was.
Oh, don't
They
even.
didn't.
We're not even getting onto that. I didn't know what a liver was. But yeah, Telford 3 points ahead of Solway now. Solway do have a game in hand, but it was really important for Telford to get that win. But MK Lightning at the top, 71 points. Leeds only 2 behind. Leeds actually have a game in hand on them. I'm not sure when that is. I think it might be against Romford on a Friday, but it's not this Romford one coming up. Because they have Romford to make up for that final. Swindon in third. Hull obviously got -2 points. For Peterborough got the win. So they're still 5 points behind Swindon. Sheffield and Peterborough will battle it out for that fifth and sixth spot. And then you got Romford, Telford, and then obviously Bristol and Bees at the bottom. And if we're going on to the points, obviously congratulations to Sobchak. He's now on 103 points. Walker Sommer with 93, Britnell 91, Specs climbing up there with 91 as well. So that'll be a good little points race to see who can come second, third. And then obviously Mr. Sam Gospel. He's up to a 9-2 now, Dan. 9-2 save percentage. He's just playing brilliant right now. And if he can play like that, I think Leeds probably will win the league. If he can just play like that alone, and obviously you have that big game in Milton Keynes. And then finally, if we look into the fixtures next week, obviously Leeds have that Friday game against Romford, which is in Leeds. And I think they have one more in Romford. Swindon have Peterborough. Solway have Romford. So Solway at home against Romford. I'll tell you what, I fancy Solway in that one. If they're they normally go on little streaks at home now. Now they've got that win, Dan. They'll be looking to try and get that home win, won't they? Another one.
Yeah, and Romford are another team that do struggle on the road as well, like the same as what Solway do. So Solway are going to be looking at that, and yeah, they're going to be feeling themselves that they can have a little shot at them in that game.
Yeah. I'm going to predict a Callum Boyd goal, another one.
I'm going for a Nolan Gardner hat trick.
Really? You think he's going to get back on the score sheet?
Yeah, I reckon.
Battle of the Pride. We've got Bristol and Bees, and if Bristol have a few players back, that could be a really good bounce back performance at home. They really need it, don't they, Dan? I think if they get Napier back, if they get Butler back, Cochrane back, all of those guys, hopefully Harewood's all right as well. They could produce a big performance on the Saturday. They need it, and then probably a big test. It's going to be a big test for MK against the whole Seahawks. MK are at home. Solway, I think, are still a little bit short benched, but you can never write Hull off at the moment. Hull could just outscore them, couldn't they? That's the way it's going at the moment. So they gave them a little scare last time. MK managed to make the comeback and won in overtime, so that could be interesting. Then Telford got Sheffield at home, and then actually, Dan, it's a Romford double header for Solway. Up in Solway. So a nice little trip for the Romford fans. If you're listening and you're debating it as a Romford fan, go. It's a great little weekend up in Solway, especially if you got a double header. And it's an early game at 5 o'clock on the Sunday. Leeds have got Bristol, so I think Bristol need to win the Saturday, don't they, Dad? They need to win the Saturday.
Don't get any easier.
And
That's
then
another team that need the goals.
the one for me, Dan, the biggest game of the weekend, Peterborough versus MK. This will be, I think, MK's toughest away game of the season remaining. This is a place which they've struggled. They did win their last time on penalty shots, but they lost there the game before. If they win this one, Dan, I think that is momentum, isn't it? That is massive momentum.
Yeah, and that's a game that you can carry yourself through to the end of the year. Like you can go and sort of go look back at that game. Whenever you're sort of going into games, you can say we did it in Peterborough. Like you've got the games like the one against Swindon. You've got that one to look back on. The Peterborough one is another one. You've got Leeds as well. you've got those games to look back on. It's like that's how we need to play these games. And I mean, it's gonna be an unbelievable running. And if you're gonna gain any momentum, it's gonna be from games like that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see which import ends up sitting that
Hmm.
game. Will he stick with Spadafor this weekend, or will Wallace go back out there? Hull Seahawks against Telford, and then finishing it off with the Bees against the Wildcats. So we'll be down in Slough, a nice little just hour journey. So
Yeah.
not too far on the Sunday. So that rounds off another episode. We probably have gone on a bit too long there. It might be coming up to maybe 2 hours of an episode there. But yeah, not too bad, Dan.
No, not too bad at all.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll give you more updates on the trip as we get we've got 3 games worth of tickets. But yeah, we haven't bought the Boston ones yet. We're just working out to see if we can drive at the moment, see if we can rent a car, because none of us actually have a credit card. We have all got debit cards, but yeah, we'll have to see if we can still rent a car with a debit card, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna have a look into it.
If anyone knows, please do DM us. Follow our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.